you think you and your family are safe if you speak out against Trump? Intimidation, fear, arrests. Is that the country you want to live in?
So don't beat yourself up. Not everybody can be a two-termer. Well, this guy was.
His top law enforcement official declares that it's a warning to other judges. We will prosecute you. Where are we?
Matter. Because losing doesn't automatically mean a loser. Or a failure. Or a national disgrace.
What happens when you call Donald Trump a loser in front of millions? The Lincoln Project found out, and Trump's reaction was as predictable as it was hilarious. But how did this one make Trump go viral? Again? Stay tuned to see how Trump fell right into their trap, amplifying an ad that mocked his insecurities and turned his rage into free PR. You won't believe how they pulled this off. Quick favor before we move on. If you appreciate this content, consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel. Believe it or not, more than 92% of viewers haven't subscribed yet. It's free and only takes a second, but it means the world to us. So, did you subscribe already? Great, thank you so much for your support. Now, back to the video. What if your biggest critic could make you promote their message for free? That's the ultimate move, right? And the Lincoln Project has figured out how to pull this off with Donald Trump, the man who can't help but draw attention to himself anytime someone ticks him off. Their whole strategy revolves around turning Trump's colossal ego into their #1 marketing machine. And the best part, they barely have to lift a finger. Trump does most of the work for them. But first, let's talk about the challenge they're up against. The Lincoln Project isn't some billion-dollar political operation like the ones we're used to seeing. Their budget doesn't even come close to matching the deep pockets of Trump's political fundraising or the massive corporate cash flowing into other campaigns. Add to that the fact that Trump is a non-stop media headline. Whether he's ranting in all caps on his social media platform or hugging the nearest American flag like it's his childhood teddy bear, the guy knows how to dominate attention.
Yes, future generations will refer to you as that turd sandwich that accidentally won an election one time.
And when you're fighting for airtime in a landscape flooded with political ads, from attack ads to Grandma Loves America style puff pieces, breaking through the noise is no small task. So, how does the Lincoln Project do it? They skip the high-stakes spending wars and go straight for the jugular instead. Trump's insecurities. Their weapon of choice? Parody ads. These aren't your typical bland political attack ads filled with ominous piano music and slow-mo images of the opponent looking grumpy. No, the Lincoln Project specializes in crafting brutally hilarious and brutally honest ads that, let's be real, probably keep Trump up at night. Take their infamous ads targeting Trump's biggest weak spots: his appearance, his masculinity, and his favorite fear, being called a loser.
Matter. Because losing doesn't automatically mean a loser. Or a failure. Or a national disgrace.
In one ad, they mocked his physical appearance with a montage of his most orange-tinted, windblown, and awkward snapshots. In another, they replayed moments where he struggled to drink water with one hand or shuffle cautiously down a ramp, all while questioning his so-called strength.
I've seen that you're shaky, can't keep your poles up, and it's getting worse. You talk a big game.
The one thing you can count on is that these ads will strike where it hurts the most, and within hours, Trump is guaranteed to start rage posting about the loser Lincoln Project, proving their point while giving them the exact attention they want. Let's not forget their ad that called him just another whiny rich guy who can't take criticism. It hit home for Trump so hard that he spent the next 24 hours on Twitter having a meltdown. The kicker? His reaction only amplified their reach, ensuring even those who hadn't seen the ad were now hearing about it from Trump himself. It's like throwing a rock in a lake and having the splash go viral. He can't resist taking the bait, and the Lincoln Project knows it. They're essentially using Trump's most predictable behavior as their marketing cheat code. It's all about psychology. The Lincoln Project isn't just throwing darts on a board and hoping one will land. They've studied Trump's ego like he's a seventh grader's science fair project. Every move they make is based on the understanding that Trump has what experts call a desperate need for validation and an inability to handle criticism. One psychologist hilariously described him as a cat chasing a laser pointer, unable to let go once something grabs his attention. The Lincoln Project took notes, and now they expertly aim that laser pointer right at his weaknesses. These ads do one thing remarkably well. They push Trump's buttons using humor and brutal honesty. Let's face it, getting mocked is one thing, but being laughed at, especially by millions of people, that's kryptonite for a guy like Trump.
Compassion, human decency,
If you don't mind, Mr. President, that
and basic reading skills.
Yosemites, Yosemite.
He lives for applause and admiration, not ridicule. It's like they've cracked the code on how to make him implode in real time. Even the way they write the ads, sharp, cutting, but always with a punchline or two, adds to the humiliation factor. And they're not just hoping these ads keep Trump awake at night. They're banking on him having the very public meltdown they need to go viral. Here's where it gets hilarious and genius at the same time. Trump's impulsive reactions, whether it's a rambling rant at a rally or an all-caps fake news post online, end up being the best promotion the Lincoln Project could ask for. His followers see it, his haters share it, and next thing you know, the ad is all over the internet. Trump essentially works as their unpaid spokesperson, spreading their anti-Trump message far beyond what they could do with their actual budget. Every time he loses it over one of their ads, he's guaranteeing millions of extra eyes on it.
They should call it the Losers Project.
Let's lay that into rapid response.
The Lincoln Project doesn't have to buy airtime. Trump gives them airtime on a silver platter. And this isn't a one-off strategy. The Lincoln Project has fine-tuned it with every new ad. By now, they can predict what kind of attack will get the loudest reaction out of Trump. Every time he rants about being a victim or accuses them of being unfair, he's playing right into their hands. If he ignores them, they win. If he responds, they win even bigger. It's like a rigged game of chess where Trump keeps moving his king into checkmate and then bragging about it afterward. So, yes, the Lincoln Project figured out how to make Trump their #1 promoter, and all they had to do was get under his skin. You'd think he might have learned by now, but nope, he's out here stepping on the same rake over and over again.
About your basic rights as an American citizen. Call your congressman. Call your senator. Enough is enough. This is America.
What's even funnier is that he probably doesn't realize he's caught in their trap. It's like watching someone yell at a mirror for making them look bad. And that brings us to their latest masterpiece, the ad that really tipped him into another meltdown. If you thought their strategy so far was clever, just wait until you see what they've cooked up this time. It's so personal, so targeted, that even Trump couldn't help but blow it up for them. Let's talk about it next. What could possibly make Trump angrier than being called a loser? Well, the Lincoln Project figured it out, and let's just say their latest ad sent him spiraling into yet another meltdown.
You think you and your family are safe if you speak out against Trump? Intimidation, fear, arrests. Is that the country you want to live in?
But this time, they didn't just poke at his insecurities, they pretty much grabbed a megaphone, pointed directly at his ego, and shouted, "You lost!" It wasn't subtle and it wasn't kind, but it was absolutely calculated to sting. And sting it did. The ad was a masterpiece in provocation. It wasn't just any old Trump attack. It was crafted with surgical precision to unravel him in the most public way possible. This wasn't about policy debates or bland political criticisms. No, it went straight for the jugular. His appearance, his masculinity, and, of course, the one insult he can't stand, being called a loser. It's like they opened a guide to Trump's greatest weaknesses and checked every single box. So, what made this ad uniquely cruel? For starters, it featured those unflattering angles of Trump the internet loves. You know, the ones where his double chin takes center stage, his strange orange hue practically glows, and his comb-over is doing its best impression of a roll of cotton candy in a windstorm.
Weaver and Schmidt, all losers.
The Lincoln Project has raised $90 million.
We have the opportunity to help save the goddamn country.
The Lincoln Project knows how much effort the man puts into his image. Why else would he slap his name in gold letters on every building he owns? So throwing those visuals around was already going to set him off. But they didn't stop there. The ad went even further, challenging his masculinity in a way that practically guaranteed he'd explode. They juxtaposed his awkward, shuffling ramp walk with scenes of other leaders like Obama casually jogging upstairs or generally looking strong and composed. The comparison wasn't subtle, but that was the point. For someone who projects an alpha male persona at every turn, being framed as physically weak or less capable than his peers is a surefire way to rattle his cage.
So don't beat yourself up. Not everybody can be a two-termer. Well, this guy was.
And of course, the word loser hung over the ad like a flashing neon sign. This is a guy who spent his entire life trying to convince the world he's a winner, whether it's slapping his name on random stakes, lying about his net worth, or insisting crowds at his rallies are bigger than they are. The Lincoln Project didn't even need to get creative here. Just using the word was enough to cut deep, especially when tied to his 2020 election loss, a topic he still can't let go of. They knew once they put that label on him, he wouldn't be able to resist taking the bait, and wow, did he take it. Within hours, Trump jumped on Truth Social to fire back in typical Trump style, calling the Lincoln Project losers and haters. He ranted about how unfair they were, made a weird point about how great he looks for his age. He obviously didn't watch the ad too closely, and generally threw what can only be described as an online tantrum. One comment from a Lincoln Project contributor summed it up perfectly. It's like he stepped into a bear trap and then started yelling at the trap while everyone stood around and watched. Here's where it gets brilliant. His tantrum did exactly what the Lincoln Project wanted. All his ranting and raving gave the ad more exposure than they could have ever afforded on their budget. Millions of his followers, who might not have been aware of the ad before, suddenly knew about it. His critics jumped in to circulate it even further, sharing it left and right with gleeful commentary about how much it clearly got under his skin. Suddenly, this one ad designed for a modest reach became a viral sensation. Major news outlets picked it up too, dissecting both the ad and Trump's over-the-top reaction, and just like that, the Lincoln Project got millions of dollars worth of free publicity. It's the same pattern we've seen time and time again with Trump. The Lincoln Project tosses a grenade, and instead of walking away, Trump grabs it and waves it around for everyone to see before it inevitably blows up in his face. And every time, he seems genuinely surprised. Think about it. He could have ignored the ad entirely. If he'd stayed quiet, it probably would have just circulated in some political circles and had a limited effect. But Trump doesn't have an ignore button. He has a yell back loudly and draw more attention to eat it button, and the Lincoln Project knows exactly how to press it. The irony here is almost too perfect. Trump prides himself on being a media mastermind, yet he consistently promotes the very things meant to humiliate him.
They knew what it meant to be an American. Now it's our turn to fight for America, to stand up to a darkness that threatens the basic rights of Americans.
He essentially became the Lincoln Project's unpaid intern, sharing their ad far and wide just by having a meltdown about it. The man who hates fake news managed to make this ad headline news just by being himself. It's the ultimate self-own. And let's not forget, this isn't the first time the Lincoln Project has pulled this off. They've perfected the art of driving him into a fury, knowing that his response will only make their work more effective. But this ad stands out because of how deeply it cut. It hit every insecurity Trump has been carrying since he slinked out of the White House in 2021. From his obsession with appearances to his refusal to let go of the stolen election narrative. He probably couldn't have scripted a better reaction if he tried. So, what's the takeaway here? The Lincoln Project knows Trump too well. They've mapped out his psychological vulnerabilities and turned them into a playbook.
So no, you're not better off. You're not safer. Nothing is cheaper. The economy is worse. Our country is in danger.
This ad wasn't just another jab. It was a symphony of every insult he can't ignore. And the best part? His own reaction amplified it far beyond anything they could have done on their own. But that raises an interesting question. These ads always seem to land at just the right time to catch Trump at his most unhinged. How does the Lincoln Project always manage to strike at his weakest moment? Let's take a closer look at their genius timing in the next section. Ever wonder how the Lincoln Project always seems to catch Trump at his most unhinged moments? It's almost like they've got a psychic hotline for when he's about to go into full meltdown mode. But the truth is, their timing isn't magic, it's strategy. And trust me, it's as entertaining as it is brilliant. The Lincoln Project's whole approach revolves around timing their ads just right. They know that when Trump's already having a bad day, maybe he's drowning in legal trouble or stuck doom-scrolling alone in his gold-encrusted compound, that's when an ad mocking him will hit the hardest. Think about it. It's one thing to throw some shade at a politician who feels untouchable, but it's another to launch an ad like a torpedo at the exact moment Trump's legal team is scrambling or he's watching his poll numbers dip. They've mastered the art of kicking Trump when he's down, and it works every single time. Here's the genius of it. Trump's life is basically an endless cycle of chaos. If he's not ranting about someone stealing his election, he's dodging subpoenas or appearing in courtrooms. The Lincoln Project follows his endlessly messy news cycle like it's a reality TV show, which, let's face it, it kind of is, and waits for the perfect moment when he's already vulnerable. When you're juggling lawsuits, fundraising disasters, and the likelihood of indictment number 57, one sharp ad can feel like a direct punch to the gut. And for a man who thrives on projecting strength, looking rattled is about as bad as it gets. One of their secret weapons is watching Trump's social media activity like hawks. Why? Because Trump never keeps his emotions off the internet. Case in point, his infamous late-night truth bombs on his platform, Truth Social.
All through my tweeting, my mad existence, I broke my promise.
While most people are winding down their evenings, Trump seems to be furiously typing in all caps about witch hunts and whose fault it is that he tripped over his own words in court. The Lincoln Project knows this is when he's at his most vulnerable, when it's just him, his phone, and his need for constant validation. They've essentially turned his after-hours doom-scrolling into free focus groups for when to drop their latest attack ads. It's brilliant, really. Imagine dangling candy in front of a cranky toddler, knowing full well the second they grab it, they're going to scream and throw a fit. That's exactly how the Lincoln Project operates. They can predict Trump's reaction almost down to the minute. They release an ad just as he's flipping through posts about how the walls are closing in on him, and boom, he's triggered. His response? Call them out on his platform, rage typing about how unfair the world is. He's done this so many times that at this point, it feels like the Lincoln Project is writing his tweets for him. The timing isn't random either. They're not just throwing ads out there and hoping for the best. Each release is calculated. They know when Trump is most likely to blow his stack and when people are most likely to pay attention to his meltdown. If, for example, he's dealing with another court appearance, they'll wait until the headlines are already unflattering, then drop an ad that piles on the humiliation.
His top law enforcement official declares that it's a warning to other judges. We will prosecute you. Where are we?
The combination of legal trouble and an ego hit makes him even more likely to lash out, which only draws more attention to the ad in the first place. You have to admire the strategy. It's like slipping a note under Trump's door that says, "You lost," and watching him stumble out in his bathrobe yelling about election fraud. What makes their timing even sharper is the tone of their ads. They don't just attack, they entertain.
You want to make any comment about this Lincoln Project ad? Yeah, no, I saw it.
Trump plan will kill you.
That's painful, Donald.
The end is coming.
He thinks he's gone.
No, get those lights off! Off!
It's the hardest job in the world.
Lucky I brought some notes.
Every ad is packed with humor and satire, making them impossible to ignore. Whether it's mocking his failed businesses or pointing out his bizarre habits, the humor ensures that people will want to share the ads. Even folks who don't normally pay attention to political messaging can't resist laughing at these brutal takedowns. They're part comedy roast, part political knife fight, and Trump is always the unwitting star of the show. This approach creates a feedback loop that's devastatingly effective. Trump sees the ad. He tweets about how unfair it is, drawing more attention to it. News outlets pick up on his reaction, and suddenly, the ad, and Trump's inability to handle it, is all over social media. The more emotional and defensive he gets, the more it proves the ad's point. And then, of course, the Lincoln Project is already cooking up their next attack, knowing exactly how to keep the cycle going. It's not just about provoking Trump, though. The Lincoln Project's timing strategy represents a shift in how modern political messaging works. In the past, campaigns relied on traditional ads during primetime TV slots, spending big bucks for 30 seconds of airtime. But the Lincoln Project doesn't need to spend millions to get their point across. They use Trump's own platform and his inability to stay quiet as their megaphone. It's not about dominating TV screens, it's about dominating the conversation. They've figured out how to use the internet's 24/7 attention span to make sure their message spreads far and wide without breaking the bank. Here's the kicker. No matter what Trump does, they win. If he ignores the ad, it still reaches their audience unchallenged. If he attacks it, he validates their message while amplifying its reach. Either way, the ad goes viral, and Trump ends up looking either weak, defensive, or both.
We at the Lincoln Project just want to say it's okay.
Okay.
Seriously, we know you did your best.
It's one of those rare no-lose situations for the Lincoln Project and an endless lose-lose for Trump. So, the next time you wonder why the Lincoln Project always seems to perfectly time their ads to hit Trump at his most sensitive moments, remember, this isn't luck. It's a calculated strategy that combines knowledge of his habits, an understanding of his insecurities, and the power of humor to strike when it counts. And as much as Trump hates it, he's basically a co-producer in their success. They just build the trap, he can't help but walk right into it. And that, my friends, is modern political messaging at its finest. But the Lincoln Project isn't laughing just yet. Let's wrap this up by looking at what this strategy says about the future of political warfare. The Lincoln Project has mastered the art of weaponizing Trump's own insecurities, turning his ego into their greatest tool. By knowing exactly how to push his buttons, they created a strategy that uses his public meltdowns to spread their message far beyond their own audience. Trump, in his eagerness to defend himself, accidentally becomes their best promoter, proving that even the loudest critic can be their own worst enemy. So, what do you think? Can humor and precision really outsmart power? Share this video, join the conversation, and maybe even have a laugh. Trump might call them losers, but they're the ones winning.